Hi everybody, Jo here again. Thanks so much for popping in. Now today we've got the October page on our calendar to fill in. Can't believe we're in October already. Only 2 left. Well, I could say this year's flown, but seriously it has. Anyway, this is the design I'm going to create, or something similar. You know what I'm like. And the idea for this came from, I'm just going to lift that up and just show you the design that Tracy's put on the lower part of the calendar here is a beautiful snail look. Now, I've already coloured mine in, and I've also added a little bit of the Woodland Ferns at the base and a couple of our sentiment stickers, so that when I've created the design in the empty space, it will all look one beautiful, lovely, cohesive page. So what I've done is I've just used some Lavinia low-tack tape, as always, and just put some across the top using the spine as a guide, and just a little bit across the bottom, just to give me a nice edge. So when I was starting off with the design, just give you the heads up, I looked and I've chosen the Snail Set, and on it there's two. There's this lovely one here looking down, and so I've gone for the other of the pair, and I thought the sizes, it would look really nice. And this I decided to just use mainly grey, because I wanted to bring in that grey that Tracy's used for the printing of that design. And I must admit, originally I was going to keep it all to grey, and then I just thought I wanted to introduce another colour, so I've gone for the sort of lilacs. Now, that's the idea behind it, so I'm going to put that there to give me an idea where I'm going. And as always, me being me, I've put some copy paper underneath. I just find it helps me if I'm going off the edge. And also, I've got myself a piece of copy paper folded, and I'm just putting that. A little tip, if ever you want to make it easier lifting your calendar page, my tape, look, I've tucked a bit under, and it gives me a tab, so it's easier to lift the page. And this, look, this copy paper will just protect this bit here, because I know what I'm like and I lean on this. And there's nothing worse than at the end looking and having smudges at the bottom. So that's my idea. So I think we're nicely in shot. So before I start, how are you doing? I hope your week started well. I hope you're having a decent week. If not, big hugs from everybody. You know we're all here for you. And I do love reading your comments. Thank you very much. It's so lovely when you get in touch. Now, sorry, excuse me. Versifying Claire, for my stamping, I'm going to use the Morning Mist. But then I'm going to team it up with one of the new ones, the Very Perry. And just these two for today. No black in sight, just for a change. So I'm going to start with our lovely snail. So there are the larger ones. These two are from the Snail Set, and so these are that bit smaller. Now, I always catch the edge of this stamp. I don't know why, but I know I do, so I'm just going to have to wipe that ink off, because me being me, it will come on my calendar page. I know it doesn't for everybody, but you get to know yourself, don't you? So I think I'm going to put this somewhere just about there. So, like I say, I can't believe we're on October. Honestly, it just feels 5 minutes since we were doing January together. And remember, if you're not doing, look, I knew a little bit of that had come on, but don't worry, we'll disguise that. I even wiped it, but these things happen. Now, I could say I've done that on purpose to show you how we can get round it, couldn't I? But you know me, these things happen. So I'm going to come in with the grey, and my branch, I'm going to use the vine branch. And that's the thing with your calendar page. A few of you've got in touch and said that you're frightened if it goes wrong. So, A, practice it first, but life happens, it really does. And so I will disguise that. Worst case, if I can't disguise it, all I will do is cut this down and attach that on top. So It's not the end of the world. The calendar isn't ruined. So again, I hope you... Oh, look, you know what? I'm having one of those days today. Right, you stick on there. Right, let's get this down quick. I do think that's the thing about stamping though. I must admit, we were away at the weekend and for some reason, I mean, I have autoimmune issues and for some reason, my immune system just, everything I was getting allergic reactions to. And Carl and I and Eric were in the woods and I was walking and unfortunately talking like I do. And I just saw an insect as I was talking. I don't know if it was a midge, a little fly, go towards my mouth, and that was it. I swallowed it. Right, and I was fine and joking. Carl said, oh, I hope it hasn't got any gluten in. He said, the way you've been reacting this weekend, even though I was taking lots of antihistamine. And you know what? Within a couple of minutes, I started coughing. I couldn't breathe. My throat was swelling up. Honestly, it was so scary. So, I mean, and it's funny, all weekend I've been dropping things. So it doesn't surprise me today that this won't go perfectly because I do think crafting is very much sort of how we feel. And I know a lot of you get in touch, and especially if you've been unwell, not only does your mojo go, but you find things don't work perfectly. So I'm having one of those days today. So if I drop anything, if I will get round it, because that's what we do. We craft together, even when we're not feeling 100%. It's like my throat's liable to play up today. I mean, do you know what? These things, but we all have these things, don't we? And it's important we can still get together. We can still craft. We can still catch up. You know, there's always way around, and none of us are perfect. Well, I tell Carl I am, you know, but hey-ho. Right, as I'm talking, I'm going to stamp our lovely owl. This is Bijou, and I just want to add, he'll sort of be my main piece on this edge, and I'm sticking to the grey. Right, so I've inked him up. So hopefully I'm going to manage to pop him on the branch here. And I haven't used him for a while, and I think that's the beauty of the calendar. It's so nice to use stamps that you possibly haven't used for a while. As I say, this year I'm not doing mine seasonal, as it were. I'm using the little images that Tracy's given me as a starting point. So happy with that. I like that. So we're so far so good with that bit. So we need to put our ferns down here. So I've gone for the Woodland Ferns for this, and we're going to use a combination of the grey and the lovely Very Perry. So I think we'll use the Very Perry first. And we're going to put some first, second and third generation. Now again, I'm just wondering if I just put a little bit there, look at that. We've nearly disguised that, haven't we? Phew. So, and I'm sort of doing this in groupings. Again, just to keep it more natural. Now, I'm going to come in with the grey now, because I don't want to add too much of my sort of lilac-y tones. So, in with the grey. And I'm going to do a couple. Now, on this stamp set, we have got a large and a smaller fern. So just so it mixes, I'll do a couple just with the large. I think that's nice over this side. And then we'll bring in the smaller fern. I'm thinking over this side. I don't want it to be too uniform. I think when you look at things in nature, you know, they almost are very random. And I've got to be honest, when I'm teaching classes, I notice that random is quite hard for a lot of people. And we don't want to cover the whole of this. And look at the heights, we're altering the heights. But what I'm thinking is if I do a little there, could I just, yeah. And that's where that edge was. And I think I may have got away with that. Little bit there. but I want to come in, just add a little bit more, and I'm going to use, we've got a lovely set of 4 stamps called the Flower Collection, and these are so useful. One of them is this one, look. And if you're looking for little good worker stamps, now if I show you this, look at that. Might just lift that up so you can see. Can you see that? And I just think it's a lovely, when you need something, but I don't want to have anything too florally here. I don't want it to take away. I just want it to add. If it wasn't there, it would look like there was something missing. A little bit there. Right. Yeah, I don't want to overcook this. And that's nice with the colours. So I'm going to stop there. Put that over there. Now I'm going to add a little bit of stamping at the top. So me being me, I'm just going to turn my calendar round. So hopefully you can see that. And I'm going for the oak leaves at the top. Now on this set, there's the large stamp and then there's a single leaf, look, single oak leaf. And I'm going to stick with the grey, my main colour's the grey, and then we'll bring in a hilt. I'm making my own words up, aren't I? I was trying to say hint of lilac, and they ended up together. I told you. Sorry, please do apologise. Right, so I'm thinking let's follow the shape of our lovely owl. So if we stamp that one there, we're following this lovely shape here. I don't know if any of you have, and I'm sure there are lots of you with allergies and things like that, but it is funny. Since it all happened, my nose keeps tingling. I've had earache, sore throat. It's just bizarre. I mean, I am very lucky. It's not a major like these poor people. I do feel for you who have nut allergies that can be so dangerous. You know, I mean, mine, it just makes me go a bit unwell, but I really feel for these people. Right, so what I'll do is I'll turn that round just so I can show you what we've got so far. And to bring in, because we've got the lilac down here, I want to bring in a little bit of that lilac-y colour at the top, but I don't want to overdo it. So that's where my single leaf will come in. And what I can do, look, at the end, I can just add one there. The way Tracy's drawn this, it's lovely for just adding. There are lots of spaces, but I don't want to make it too heavy. Don't want to overcook it with this. But where there's, might have one just coming in there. And I'm not actually going to colour these. I like them left as they are. But should you wish, it is a lovely leaf to colour. So we'll just add a few more. And if you've misstamped at all at the top, again, it's a lovely leaf to just fill in any spaces. Now, love the flow. I need one here. Do I need it here or here? If I just put this one first, a little coming off the edge, and then see, yes, I think I need another, but not too much. So maybe again, just, yeah, I like that. I don't want to add any more. I think I've got enough because I don't want it to be too much about the leaves. I think that's just the right. So I'll just get a piece of clean copy paper and we'll give that a blot. I don't want to smudge it. I'm just going to add some ink now. Because again, today, if there was every day I was going to smudge it and ruin it, I know that today is the day. So I'm going to add some ink in the background. And for this, I'm going to use the Oxide and it's Shaded Lilac. Again, I just thought that colour would blend perfectly. And I've got my acetate circle mask. And I'm just going to pop it over my owl. So I'm going to use it as a moon, but also as a spotlight. I'm going to blend the ink on my brush. And then I'm just going to come round and I'm going to go over the background. As I say, I'm not going to colour the leaves in. So I can just take the ink straight over them. And then I'm going to move that. And I'll turn it round just so you can see. And we'll just work in from the corner here. And the shaded lilac works so lovely with the VersaFine Clair, the Very Perry. I do like to look at my colours and see how they go together. And so this is a lovely blend. And I'm just doing circular motions, and I want it quite almost to look like it's the sky and we've got a bit of a storm brewing. It's night time, so I'm quite happy for lighter bits and darker bits. So I'm going to stop there. I can always come back and add some later, but I'm going to bring in my grey now. And for this, I've chosen the weathered wood. So again, in the lid, and then I'm going to just add some in the corners, and then along the bottom, and just over where the ferns are. So add some more in the corner here, and then just bring it where those ferns are, just to add a little bit of different colour. And then we'll do the same at the top in the corner, because I want my corners darker, so I always start in the corners, then a little bit down that edge. So as I say, my copy paper underneath, it'll just pick up any of that ink, and then I know I won't get it onto November. Honestly, I really can't believe it. So into the corner, along the top, and again, remember the ink will look more of a contrast when you take the masking tape off. If you're not sure and you want to have a little peek, just lift it up a little, look. Yeah, so you see that's quite dark, so we're happy with that. We'll leave that. Don't want to add any more. I think we framed it beautifully. So we'll add a little bit of colour. And for this, I'm going to come in with my Kuretake pens, the Zig Clean Colour. And there's one number 803 English Lavender. So that's my lilac-y tones. And then what I've done is I looked for my 3 greys. And the ones I've chosen are number 91, which is light grey. And then 901, which is grey tint. And then 98, pale dawn grey. But really, I just think look for, there must be so many different greys. It depends which packet you've got. So I'm also going to come in with, I've got my Clear Wink of Stella pen here. And what I'm going to do is add the colour, but also do a little bit of that wink of colouring, some blending. So what I want to do is I want to add a little bit of this lilac-y tones to his shell look. So I'm just going to come in. I mean, Tracy's drawn it so we can see where the darker areas are. And I'm not covering the whole thing, because then with my Wink of Stella, I'll pick up that ink and just move it across. And if I want, I can pick a little bit more up, look, on my brush and just add. So as we would with a clear brush or a blending brush. But this obviously will give that lovely sparkle. So my snail will have that lovely sparkle. And then the body I want grey. So I think, which is my... So I'm just going to add a little bit of dark here. And then I'm just going to go with, between my 2 palest of the greys. Look, the darker one first, then the lighter one, and come in again with that Wink of Stella and just move that. So we've got light and shade. And then underneath we want a little bit of that. Now I'm sorry, but they can make a bit of a slime trail. So we can do that with our, just pick a little bit more up there, with our Wink of Stella, and we've got that sparkly. Now, if you're not keen on snails, and I know there's bound to be some of you, just choose another stamp. We've got so many other stamps. Why don't you have the hedgehogs instead? Or the squirrel? Or, I mean, we have just got so many stamps, haven't we, that you could use. I mean, I don't mind them in my calendar. I'm not so keen when they're in my garden, got to be honest. But my calendar, they're fine. Oh, there we go. Happy with that. So, come over to our lovely owl in the tree. And again, I'm just going to come in with my lavender first. And he's got a lovely row of feathers round his eyes, look. So I'm just going to catch those first with my lilac. And this is very much a quick colouring. You can spend, if you want to spend a while colouring him, you know, I think that's lovely. But I'm doing a bit of it, I call it my cheats colouring, just because I like that nice quick bit of colouring. And then I'll come in with my light grey, and I'm just going to dab some of these feathers. I'm not going to colour them specifically, I'm just sort of dabbing to get that colour on there. And then with my mid grey, just add a few more little dabs here and there. And then with my darker grey, I'm just going to come in, so around this purple, just to add a bit of depth, look, to make that purple stand up. And it's very much a dabbing sort of motion that I'm doing. And it just gives him that bit of shape. So we'll just highlight a few and give a bit of shade under a few of his feathers there. And it just means he's not all one colour. And then just add a little bit of grey. I must admit, it's quite tempting because when you're looking at the colours of your pens, I instantly picked up a couple of browns for the tree branches. And I do that, and I almost had to remind myself that we're doing this in grey tones. But I don't know about you, I easily sort of get a little bit almost carried away, especially with colouring. Right, so we'll add a little bit of Wink of Stella around his eyes, I think. Right, so I'm just going to put the lids on these. I just find it easy to take all the lids off and hold them in my hand. I will list those pen numbers at the bottom, so if I've gone a bit quick, I will list them all. And I'm going to come in with my metallic, these Signo pens, the Uniball. As you know, I love the metallic ones. And there's this one called Violet. So for this lovely vine that's going around the tree branch, I thought again, so the colours would just look beautiful. I couldn't decide, I was going to use silver, and then I saw the violet and I thought, oh, that'll really bring out those purpley tones. So we'll follow this round. Again, Tracy's drawn it round the branch. And again, you will take longer than me. And we'll just add a couple of highlights. So we'll come in with our lovely white, and we'll just add a couple of on the snail shell here. A couple of highlights. And then just on his eyes. And then just on a couple of these berries. Just on his feet, on his claws there. And what I do want to do, just with my clear Wink of Stella, which I've put down. Nearly picked up the wrong one then. I have to write on the barrels because once I take the lids off, I get my, especially the silver and the clear. So we'll add that on there. And then when I was creating this, I just thought it looks like there's something missing and I wasn't sure what. So I wanted a background sentiment. So I've gone for one of our lovely signs. So we've got various signs, the moon signs, the crystal signs, psychic signs and spirit signs, I think are the 4. And the reason I've gone for this one is, and again, I put an arrow on the back of mine, so make sure I stamp it the right way up. This one I've gone for Blessings, and this is from September the 15th to October the 15th. So as we're doing the October page, I thought this was a good one to go for. Now I'm going to stamp in my grey, and I'm going to stamp down this side. But I need to be mindful, I'm going to do first and second generation. But I want the first generation not to be over things like my snail. So what I can do, if I do a first generation here, then I can bring a second generation where my main character is, look. And again, I've got the arrow on the back, so I know I'm not going to turn it round. So if my first is there, my second will be here. So I'll do my first there and then come in with my second. And then we'll just have the hint, I think, of a little bit there. Right, so I'm going to add some on this side as well now. So if I'm mindful, I can do a first there and then second there, and then I can just get the top of a first along the bottom, and that's nice because you can just see it through where I've got stamping. So again, I'm going to have a second here, but what I'll do is I'll stamp first, and what I'll do is I'll stamp it up here and then pop a second in here. Because, as I say, I don't want to have the first right next to where my owl is. I'd rather have the second. And I think I just want something along the top there. So if I ink up the base, look, and just bring in the last couple of lines there. And then maybe the first there. And I don't want to overcook it. But that, for me, just takes off. And what I'm going to do is I want to add some water splats. Again, just for this area here. So just to give a bit more interest where that ink is. Now again, I've done the stamping in permanent, so my water won't affect the permanent, but it will just give me a little bit more almost pattern and depth in the background. I mean, you don't want too much because you don't want to distract from your main focal areas, but you do want a bit of something. So what I tend to do is with my kitchen roll, just have a look. So I want to just give it a few more minutes just for it to faux bleach. Now we've not got an awful lot of colour on there, but the faux bleaching will just add that bit of interest. It'll almost give me a mottled sky rather than a plain. And if I lift that up, can you see the difference where we've got the faux bleaching? It's just that bit, and for me, that just looks a little bit nicer, a bit more interest. So the last thing I'm going to do, just before I lift my tape off, I want to add some ink splatters. I'm going to pat, check that water's dry. Now normally I would leave it to dry, go and make myself a brew. But I don't want to leave you in the lurch and come back in 5 minutes, do I? Mind you, when I have a coffee, it's probably more like 10. So my Posca here is lavender. But I haven't used this one very much, so I need to give it a good shake and just check that, give it a good pump because it's pump action. And we'll just add, where the ferns are, some lovely lavender splats. Just to bring in that colour. And again, round here. And then just at the top over the leaves. And it's nice because you've got the sentiment in the background. You've got that water faux bleaching, and then now you've got the lavender splats. And I'm trying to direct it away from the owl. Maybe a few around the tree. As I say, this is a new one. But I don't want to shake it up too much. What I found, if you're not careful, especially with a new pen, you think it's not working and you give it a good shake and then you give it a nice little tap, and before you know it, you get really huge splats of Posca. So I'm trying to be mindful of that. So I'm going to get rid of that. And before I take the tape off, I'm just going to use my lovely heat tool just to make sure that that tape will come off. I'm sure it will. So again, we can take that off, look, and the same off the top. Take the paper out, and then the final little piece of the jigsaw for this one is one of our sentiments. Beautiful sentiment stickers. Now, further down, I've already put adventure and nature. So I just need something here. And I'm thinking, take a moment, because I think that's like, take a moment to have an adventure in nature. And I'm going to put take a moment right there. And so that's our lovely finished calendar page. And this one I've taken right to the edges. Some months I've masked off, just because when I'm going through my calendar, I don't want every month to look the same. And I just love these colour tones. It's not something I would have gone to before, a lilac and a grey, but I'm really happy with the way it's turned out. And look, if I can hold that, I just think they look so well together. And I'm just going to try and see if I can get, probably can't get it, but the reflection of the Wink of Stella on the snail is just so magical. And then we've just got at the very bottom those little woodland ferns. And for me, those little finishing touches make all the difference. So thank you very much for joining me. There's the calendar page, and there's the piece on a larger design. Now, a couple of you have asked me, and these calendars are A4 size. So just so you know, beautiful quality card. So thank you very much for joining me, and I can't wait. Let's just have a quick before we go. What's on November? Give you a little hint. So got to come up a design ready for November for next week. Then it'll be December. Oh, happy days. I love Christmas. Anyway, I'll see you again tomorrow. Love and hugs from me. Bye for now.